I'm not supposed to be alive, y'all, but purpose made me do it. It was Memorial Day, 1994. And at the time, I was attending barber school and I was a nail tech. It was a Monday, a day that barbershops are closed, yet I found myself at the barbershop that I worked at with the owner. I was chatting with him as I pondered in my head, this was going to be my last day of life. Enough was enough. I had already sent my 2-year-old son to daycare and placed the note to his dad in his backpack with my goodbyes and care instructions. As I sat in one of the barber chairs, dazed, empty, and depleted, I worried about how I could leave him here without me. The mental pain I was in was unlike anything I had ever experienced. As I sat there engaging, yet unengaged, if you can imagine that, right? You're talking, but yet unengaged. I looked out the window and I could see this lime green Toyota Camry coming. And I knew who that was because I recognized that car from anywhere. It was my friend. And I looked and wondered, like, what is she doing coming up here? It's a whole holiday, right? It's Memorial Day. Like, it's a Monday. The shop is not even open. What are you coming up here for? And as she came in, she spoke to the owner because she knew the owner, and then she spoke to me. And I thought to myself, like, could she see the emptiness inside of me? I wondered, did she see that? And she invited me to her house to watch a movie. I can remember thinking, I'm not really in the mood to watch a movie, right? Like my mind is somewhere totally different. But I said, I'm gonna go with her because this would be my last time that I'll have time to spend with her. So I went with her and she put on the movie. She was fairly new in my life. So when she came into my life, all she talked about was God and church, God and church. And I wasn't interested in that, right? So she put the movie on. I had no clue what she was putting on. And she put on a movie by Juanita Bynum, No More Sheets. So if you don't know Juanita Bynum is the one who talked about her different, I'm looking at her face, who talked about the different dating, experiences that she had, the many compromising situations that she had with men. So as I listened intently, I could see myself in her story. Me and my child's father at the time had just broken up, and the breakup was unbearable for me. It was an unbearable pain. I continued to listen attentively, asking her to rewind over and over certain things that just was like hitting me. Tears, and more tears kept welling up in my eyes as I saw Juanita Bynum begin to wrap herself up with these bed sheets. And I could relate to that because there were so many sheets that I had been wrapped up in that it just resonated with me, right? Hopping from bed to bed and leaving empty and exhausted. And I wasn't exhausted from the sex, y'all. I was exhausted mentally, mentally from chasing after guy and wanting this one to be it and wondering when the one was gonna come. So I can remember a part in the movie when it talked about God's will and him wanting to process me. And it was like she was talking directly to me. Like when she said that process piece, I can still remember to this day, like she was talking directly to me. Snotty tissue, tears was everywhere. By the end of the movie, I was chanting, no more sheets, no more sheets, no more sheets. Now, in the movie, right, they were standing up chanting that. I was laid out, prostrate on the ground, because, you know, it was just that intense for me. It was me at that moment with the Lord, and I had gave my life over to him. Now, that's something that I was taught never to do, because I was raised Jehovah's Witness. And so, as a Jehovah's Witness, it teaches you, you don't go to church, don't even step foot in a church, and you don't take on any other religion, okay? At the age of 20, I was kicked out of the Jehovah's Witness religion because I violated some of their strict rules. And that being, I was pregnant and had to meet before the elders for them to decide my fate. And I was, you know, pregnant meant I was under premarital or having premarital sex, excuse me, which was a definite violation of their laws. So being kicked out for what they call disfellowship meant that I could not have communication with anybody in the hall, the Kingdom Hall, and that included anybody who was baptized as Jehovah's Witness, which included my parents, okay? So here I am, I'm 20 years old, pregnant, and no parental support. The only support I had was my sister. She was the only one who was acting pretty much in proxy as like my mother, which she had been in that role for a while because me and my mother didn't have a good relationship. So fast forward a little bit from there, my son was about 1.5 years old, and me and my sister our relationship ended up ending because of an incident where I chose my child's father over her. Now I'm in this world without any family, and I'm in this very tumultuous relationship with my child's father. At this time, I had no clue that my purpose was being shaped. All these things was forming my purpose. I had no clue. Unknowingly, in that moment, you know, I was depressed and still didn't have a clue of what brought me so much pain. Being disfellowship, being abandoned by my parents was a large part of what my purpose was. I want you to imagine for a minute, most of y'all, probably all of y'all, got a gas stove. Everybody got a gas stove? No electric stove, okay. So on your gas stove, it has a knob, and on the knob, it has like light, L-I-T-E, or it might have the symbol of fire, right? And so on there, I can imagine in my mind as you turn the knob and you hear the tick, 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 right? I didn't know that my purpose was being ignited. My purpose was actually being ignited when I gave my life to Christ. So let's reflect back. As I reflected back on that day when I was at my friend's house and I gave my life to God, I no longer desired to kill myself. Once I gave my life to God, I had a peace that I had never experienced before come over me. During that time, I began to heavily think about what my purpose was. So at this moment now, I was a licensed barber, listening to people's problems daily as I'm sitting there cutting their hair, right? I remember thinking to myself, how long, girl, like how long do you think you're gonna be able to stand behind this chair, right? Like how long do you think you're gonna be able to do that? Especially with those, this is how I used to go to work, y'all. With those Daisy Dukes and them heels on. I tell you, almost every day I went that way, right? Yeah. I was like, retirement? Yeah, no, that's not gonna work, right? So I was in my 20s, and wisdom told me, you know, you need to start thinking about something else. Okay, we're gonna fast forward to 1998, when I married that fool. I married her. The relationship was very rocky. Nothing had changed. It probably got worse. Yeah, it got worse. But what was happening in the relationship was actually saying something to me. It was speaking to me. Like, it was like letting me know that that's an area that, you know, a difficult area, but I need to start tackling. I need to start doing something with that. So it was giving me actually clarity on my purpose. Now, we fast forward in 2003, I was working in my salon, and I can almost remember it, like right now. I think I was flat ironing somebody's hair. And I heard the Lord say, you need to go register for school. I said, say what now? What? I'm like, I have been thinking about going to school, but I hadn't really come to a conclusion, right? What I was gonna do, what I'm going to school for, God. Like, I ain't heard you say that. But I was obedient. I went. And the thing about that is, I'm glad I was obedient and knew that it was him, because when I got there, they said, you know, this is the last day of registration. Not only is this the last day of registration, but in Illinois at the time, they had something called MAC, which was a check. It was like $1,200 extra. I needed that coinage, right? And it was the last day of that, right? I said, I'm looking like, okay, I heard you, right? So I had to meet with the guidance counselor. So we talked in 2003 here. We didn't have the computers where you can pull up and look in there and see what you want to do. They're asking me to choose my path. I don't even know what school is about, right? Let me get in here first. But you gotta choose in order for us to tell you what classes you need, right? So I chose social work. Based on what it looked like, you know, what I read in the book, I was like, yeah, this looks like me. Okay. So after that, fast forward, I ended up finishing my associate's degree, and then I had to choose a university or where I was going to go after that, if I was going to continue to go on to school. I already knew because they had a meeting with us and they talked to us about schooling and stuff. So this was like, I want to say like 6 months prior to me completing my associates. So they were letting me know that, okay, you're about to graduate and you need to start getting in motion. Maybe it was a year. I'm thinking it was a year, because they said you need to start getting in motion and submitting your stuff to the university, whatever university you're going to go to, right? So I had figured out I was going to Purdue. I knew I was going to Purdue, and I was real strategic with that. I ended up moving to Indiana because I knew that I needed to be in-state. To get that in-state tuition, I had to be a resident for a year. So that's why I said it was about a year, because it was right in enough time where we were able to move so I could get that in-state tuition. Tuition raise. So by the time I had got to, or had to start choosing my stuff at Purdue, I had chosen to switch from social work to marriage and family therapy. And I know you probably asking, well, why'd you switch, right? Like, don't they do the same thing? But I switched because marriage and family were the two biggest pieces in my life that brought me the most turmoil. And so I said that this would be a place for me to be able to work out some of that stuff within myself, right? Like, if I don't do nothing else, at least I can start working on me while I'm in school, right? So I ended up completing my bachelor's degree and applying for the MFT program. Now, this MFT program was very intense. It was only accepting 9 people, so it was a cohort thing. Once a year, a cohort of 9 people would get chosen. Only 2 of those was minority. 1 black and 1 from overseas. Needless to say, I didn't get chosen at first, the first time around, I didn't get chosen, okay? But they had me meet with like the program directors, of the program, because they saw how much I really wanted to be in it. They said, we're gonna give you a chance, to do some courses, some of the intro courses. You can take some of the intro courses, and it was up to 4, so it was like 2 semesters, right? Which would take me up until that next year to apply again. So I did those courses, and it was like spring. So in spring is where you find out. I had already applied for the next year, 2008, and in spring, my professor was like, yeah, well, we chose, they had chose somebody else. And I'm thinking like, okay, I'm looking up like, okay. Now I know I heard you say for me to go to this school and to, become a marriage and family therapist. I said, so I'm not understanding. What am I supposed to do now? All I needed to do was finish these intro courses, right? I was in the last semester. I said, I don't know what you want me to do. I don't have a clue where I'm supposed to go. I said, but if this is what you told me to do and become, open them doors for me. 2 days later, my professor came to me and said, well, we had one of the people who was supposed to be a part of the program, and they decided that they can't come this year. They can't make it into the program this year. What? I'm like, what? I'm looking up. All I could do was look up. Tears in my eyes, everything. Just joy, excited, all of that. He was like, so are you interested? Yeah, I'm definitely interested, right? So, ended up getting into the program. Ended up getting into the program. Meanwhile, so this is what I noticed is kind of a thing a lot of times. You can have something good going on over here, and then all of a sudden over here you got this turmoil and stuff, right? So I already told y'all how my marriage was going. My marriage wasn't marriaging, right? So this is 2008, and I decided in 2008, I'm like, I'm done. I can't take no more, right? I'm not even gonna go into that. But it was horrible. So here I am, going into grad school, right, which is very, very intense. A 16-year-old, 9-year-old, that basically I was raising myself because I don't know where that daddy was, but he wasn't there, he wasn't daddying, right? And then I also had a full-time salon. I had a whole business that I had to run. How was I supposed to do all this? I had no clue how I was supposed to do this, but one thing I found out was I wasn't going to let nothing stop me from walking into my purpose. So, 2012, I completed my MFT program, and in 2021, I became fully licensed. I know you said 2012, 2021. It's a whole process in there that they don't tell you that you got to go through in order to get fully licensed. Nonetheless, it finally happened, and I was able to open up my own company. All right. According to research.lifeway.com, 4 out of 5 people believe that everybody has a life purpose, right? So that means one person don't believe that there is a purpose, that, out of the 5 people, one person doesn't believe. And approximately 59% say that they have found their life purpose. But just because you found it don't mean you're walking in it, right? Okay? So, purpose is a word that many people tend to ponder over. Many people tend to, like it's a small word, but it's like, what does that really mean, right? So I'm gonna give you my own definition from what I had to walk through, what I had to live. So purpose, according to me, is that it's something that calls you. Where's my phone?
Right there.
Oh, you got my phone. Okay. Yeah. Purpose is something that calls you just like your cell phone. It's gonna keep ringing until you answer it. And God will move heaven and earth in order for you to be able to walk into your purpose. Things will continue to happen around you. Things will continue to happen to you. Things will continue to happen in you in order to show you what your purpose is. In fact, right, like when I was a barber, it was already there, right? The purpose was already there. I just didn't come to that realization yet. So purpose is what you have been placed on this earth to fulfill, and you won't feel fulfilled until you do it. Sometimes you will do purpose for free. I hope that's not y'all case, right? I hope you don't have to, but sometimes you gotta do purpose for free. Purpose is a drive in you based on some part or parts, and in things in your story that usually is attached to some type of pain, sorrow. It pulls at your heart, causes intense emotions to arise in you. It comes natural to you though. Whatever it is, your purpose, it comes natural to you. It solves a problem, it brings you joy, and you can get lost in purpose. Like working in your purpose, I know for me, like doing therapy, I go over my time quite a bit because I just love what I do, right? I love to have that engagement and see them really engaging and growing. All right, so I found my purpose in my story, and I know you will find your purpose in your story as well. Purpose made me do it. If you don't know your purpose, this is what I'm suggesting for you. Write down your story, right? Take a look at your story. What are those things that have a great impact on you? You know, what are those things that really speak to you deeply? Pray, ask God to reveal what your purpose is for you, because we all were created with one. We all have a purpose. I can guarantee you that without that, you are already in ways walking in your purpose. You just haven't tapped into it yet. So that's like me when I was barbering. I was listening intently, right? Even though I'm cutting hair, they bringing me their problems. The same thing I do in therapy, I created a safe space. They felt safe. When they sat in the chair, they dumped everything on me, but didn't pay me for it. I'm going to school, I'm gonna get paid for it, right? You're gonna dump it on me, I'm gonna get paid for it. So just know, you know, that purpose is, okay, sorry. Let's go on to power. Talk about the power within you. So we were talking about the igniting of the tick, 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 tick on the stove. Your power is when it goes whoosh. You hear that fire that comes up, whoosh. That's the power that's in you. And that power only shows up once you start walking in your purpose. That's when you see and hear and feel that power arise in you. It's gonna lie dormant until you start moving in it, right? When you start walking in it, then that power arises up. That power, what that power does is it will align everything. Everything starts to align. As in when I went to school, how things started to align. They started coming to me, right? Because I'm walking in my purpose. I'm going where I'm supposed to go. So know that when you start walking in your purpose, it's going to align, it's going to open up, it's going to come to you. Whatever you need is going to come to you, because purpose is, I believe, God sent. I believe God has placed it in each and every one of us, and He's going to make a way for you to get exactly what you need when you are supposed to get it. All right? So the power in you works on your purpose's behalf. The power arises in you when that purpose is being activated, when you're walking in that actual purpose. So I do have homework for, I'm a homework therapist. So it's just what I was talking about, to write your story, right? So if you don't know your purpose, but this is good even if you do, because what I found is I thought I knew my purpose, and I started writing this whole story, right, and a whole lot of stuff came out of that. So write your story and reflect upon it. What are those things that show up? What are those things that you see, that are highlighted? What patterns do you see come out, right? What are those things that pull on your heart, that are really dear to your heart, right? What is it that you would do for free if money were no object that you would do for free? Typically, that's your passion and your purpose, right? We don't like to do a whole lot of free stuff, right? But you do your purpose. You'll walk in your purpose for free if you have to. What is that evokes intense emotions in you? A lot of times that is your purpose trying to call you towards it, right? Your emotions are you're getting worked up for some reason that has something to do with your story, which has something to do with your purpose. What pulls at your heartstrings or draws you towards it, even when you want to run from it? Because baby, I've ran from this purpose plenty of times. Plenty. And then when you don't want to do it, or you sit it down, right? And you like, not right now, get somebody else to do it. Yeah. All of that. Most times that's attached to your purpose. What excites you? What brings you joy? Look at all these things, right? Start looking in your story. You'll see it, right? As you have written down all of these different things that you have gone through, you'll start seeing that. Oh, this brought me joy. This brought me excitement, right? So write it down. Another thing, ask your friends and family. Those who are closest to you. A lot of times they see something in you that you don't see. We got blind spots, right? Just like when we was writing that stuff. There are blind spots. Somebody else can come and tell you, Sunita, 5,000 things about you, right? And it takes us 30 minutes to write 10 things, right? So those who you trust, ask. Because there's things that they see. They see things and it's typically attached to your purpose, okay? So they can help give you some insight. So that's your homework, to just write down your story. It may take some time, but it's going to be very insightful for you. This is why I am the PPP. And I'm not talking about loans. I'm talking about the power and purpose practitioner. What does a practitioner do? You a nurse, right?
No, I'm a medical technologist.
Okay, well, in the same field, right? So NP, nurse practitioner, or doctor, those are what they typically consider, practitioners. A practitioner helps you to heal, right? Gives you direction as to what you need to do with your body to be better. Well, it should. And so me as a practitioner, I assist you to discover, uncover, and to walk in your power and your purpose. So we don't have TED Talks, we have Tonye Talks. Thank you for listening to my Tonye Talk.
All right, sister.
Awesome. Yeah.